Our goal is to rearm, refuel, and do all the checks necessary to take off again in roughly 15 to 20 minutes on road basis.
Gripen E operates with a new agile architecture system, which allows the aircraft to be upgraded with new tactics and new capabilities seamlessly.
What we designed the system for is actually to be able to withstand the extreme max in terms of cold, so minus 40, minus 45.
10,000 research and manufacturing jobs could land in Canada if Ottawa adds the Swedish fighter jet to its military.
For months, the mainstream narrative has been simple. Canada stays loyal, Canada stays quiet, Canada stays in line. Donald Trump made sure of it. Tariff threats, trade pressure, remarks about Canada's place inside the Western alliance that sounded less like diplomacy and more like dominance. The assumption across every major defense newsroom was clear. Canada would absorb the pressure, sign the F-35 deal, and remain locked inside America's technological orbit. That was the story everyone expected. Mark Carney does not react, he calculates. Because while Donald Trump was making noise, Canada was making moves. Quiet, deliberate, architecturally precise moves. And what happened next reveals everything about how middle powers survive in an era of American unpredictability. This is not a story about fighter jets. This is a story about sovereign resolve rewriting the rules of the most powerful military alliance on Earth. For decades, NATO has operated under one nearly unshakable reality. The alliance's air power depends on American technology. The F-16, the F-15, the F/A-18, the F-35. Every major NATO fighter fleet runs on American-controlled engines, American software, American spare parts, American maintenance systems. Every upgrade, every modification, every technology transfer passes through America's export regulations. Every allied nation, no matter how sovereign, must ultimately ask for permission. Canada understood this reality better than almost anyone. Go back to the 1950s, Canada developed the Avro Canada CF-105 Aero, an interceptor program so advanced, so capable, that military historians still describe it as one of the most extraordinary fighter projects in the world at that time. Then it was canceled. Strategic pressure, shifting North American defense priorities, the Aero was dismantled. Canada was redirected toward American military equipment instead. Read that again. Canada built something genuinely world-class, and it was taken apart. The lesson Ottawa's strategists carried forward for 70 years was painfully clear. Never build a defense program strong enough to challenge America's technological dominance, and never become so dependent on a partnership that America could reshape it at any moment to serve its own interests. That painful memory never left. It only waited for the right moment to become relevant again. That moment arrived with Donald Trump, when Trump returned to the political stage with hardline rhetoric aimed directly at Canada. The calculation inside Canada's defense establishment shifted completely. Tariff threats, trade disputes, public remarks questioning Canada's role inside the Western alliance. For Canadian strategists, this was no longer background noise. This was a defining test of whether Canada could afford to remain completely dependent on an America that Donald Trump was making increasingly transactional, increasingly coercive, increasingly unpredictable. Mark Carney does not react. He calculates. Carney called for a formal review of Canada's F-35 procurement deal with Lockheed Martin. Publicly, it looked like a policy pause, a routine reevaluation. But underneath that careful, measured language was something far more consequential. Canada was beginning to seriously consider becoming the first NATO member nation to structurally challenge the alliance's dependence on American defense technology. Translation: Canada was quietly exploring an exit from America's technological orbit. The vehicle for that exit is Saab. The Swedish defense giant has been pushing hard to convince Canada to choose the Gripen E/F fighter jet. And what makes Saab's proposal genuinely different is not just the aircraft, it is the engine. Rolls-Royce is developing the EJ230, an upgraded evolution of the EJ200, the same engine family that has powered the Eurofighter Typhoon across more than 4 million flight hours and combat operations over Libya, Syria, and Iraq. Proven, reliable, relatively simple to maintain. But the most important detail is not performance, It is independence. The EJ230 does not rely on core American technology. It is not bound by America's ITAR export control system, which means any nation that operates it can upgrade it, modify it, and sustain it without asking the Pentagon for permission. Under the proposal currently under discussion, Rolls-Royce would establish an engine production facility in Canada to manufacture the EJ230 for Gripen E/F fighters. The production line would operate with minimal reliance on American components. If that happens, it would mark the first time since NATO's creation in 1949 that a member nation develops the capability to produce modern fighter jet engines entirely outside direct American control. Read that again. Since 1949, the first time. Now understand the layers of what Mark Carney is actually building here. First layer, industrial sovereignty. Rolls-Royce already operates multiple facilities in Canada supporting the civilian aerospace sector. Engine maintenance, advanced component manufacturing. The industrial foundation already exists. Expanding into fighter engine production does not mean building an industry from scratch. It means upgrading an ecosystem that is already there. Current estimates suggest the project could create between 3,000 and 5,000 high-skilled jobs in Canada's aerospace sector alone. Combined with Saab's broader global manufacturing network, the total number of connected long-term positions could climb to 15,000 to 18,000 over the coming years. This is not a defense contract. This is an economic architecture. Second layer, alliance economics. The more nations that join the Gripen E/F program, the more viable the Canadian production line becomes. If Canada moves forward with a 72 aircraft order, Ukraine expands its fleet in the future, and countries like Colombia, Thailand, the Philippines, Portugal, or Peru join the program, total engine demand could surpass 400 units within a single decade. That scale sustains a long-term strategic production line, entirely in Canada, entirely outside American control. Third layer, strategic autonomy for the entire alliance. Consider Ukraine. Kyiv has learned the dangerous lesson of depending completely on America's military supply chain. A political shift in America, a domestic crisis, a Donald Trump recalculation, and weapons deliveries stop in the middle of a war. But if the EJ230 is manufactured in Canada, that vulnerability changes entirely. Sweden provides the technology, the United Kingdom supports production, Canada sustains the supply chain, and none of it requires direct approval from America. This is not a European problem. This is a global shift. Thailand operates older Gripen fighters powered by an engine derived from an American-built GE 404. Nearly every major upgrade still requires a lengthy approval process from America. The EJ230 changes that entirely. Countries across Asia and Europe gain the ability to operate, upgrade, and sustain advanced fighter aircraft without navigating America's export control bureaucracy. And that is where Donald Trump's miscalculation becomes complete. Trump applied pressure expecting submission. He calculated that Canada, economically integrated, geographically dependent, strategically tied, had no real alternatives. That the F-35 deal would continue because Canada had nowhere else to go. Mark Carney does not react. He calculates. And what Carney saw was this. Donald Trump's unpredictability was not a threat to be managed. It was an argument, the clearest possible argument for why Canada needed genuine strategic alternatives, why NATO itself needed to evolve towards something more balanced, more resilient, less dependent on any single nation's political temperament. This is not abandoning the alliance. This is strengthening it. Because an alliance where every member nation depends on one country's technology, one country's supply chains, one country's political mood is not a partnership. It is a hierarchy. And what Canada, Sweden, and the United Kingdom are quietly constructing inside NATO's industrial architecture is the beginning of something different. An alliance where sovereign nations can cooperate as genuine equals, where middle powers maintain real control over their own defense capabilities, where the answer to American unpredictability is not submission, but architecture. The Avro era was canceled because Canada built something too capable. 70 years later, Mark Carney is building something again, quietly, deliberately, with strategic patience that Donald Trump's chaotic pressure never saw coming. Each engine produced, each production network expanded, each allied nation that joins. Step by step, a new order inside NATO begins taking shape. What do you think about all this? Tell us in the comments below. See you in the next one.